before humans reached the deepest waters, before science fully understood the secrets buried beneath the ocean, there existed a world where darkness hides the impossible. In the depths of the ocean, amid immense pressure, endless cold, and absolute silence, mysterious creatures hunt, adapt, and survive in ways humans have yet to decipher. Welcome to the deep ocean, a journey to the mysterious creatures of the abyss. Please give us a like and subscribe to the channel to motivate us to keep creating more quality content. Don't forget to comment below with your thoughts on the video and tell us where you're watching from so we can discuss it together. Let's begin. Although they possess impressive strength and great agility for swimming, humpback whales must still face one of the most intelligent predators, the orca. Known as the wolves of the sea, they are hunters situated at the top of the marine ecosystem. Thanks to their superior intelligence and extraordinary group coordination skills, orcas turn every attack into an impeccable demonstration of strategy. With a speed that can reach 56 kilometers per hour, they manage to take advantage over a humpback whale. But what really makes them fearsome is not just their physical strength, but their precise tactics and perfect group cooperation. The orca is the largest dolphin in the world, with a length of between 8 and 10 meters. It can weigh up to 8 tons. Its enormous size does not reduce its agility, and it can easily catch almost any prey. Unlike many other animals, its most powerful weapon is intelligence. Orcas usually attack whale calves or weakened individuals. A common tactic consists of dividing into small groups and using strong tail slaps to generate shockwaves. However, confrontations do not always end with the victory of the predator. Sometimes, humpback whales fight back, using their enormous pectoral fins like giant hammers to strike their enemies. These epic encounters are a test of the fragile balance of nature. Unlike humpback whales, which feed on krill, orcas have an extremely varied diet. They hunt everything from small fish and squids to large mammals like sea lions. Research has shown that the orca is capable of facing the terror of the seas, the great white shark. With masterly intelligence, they attack the mortal weak point of the white shark, tonic immobility. With a precise strike to turn it upside down, the orca leaves this predator completely defenseless. Afterward, it concentrates on extracting its nutrient-rich liver, abandoning the shark's body as proof of its power. These marine giants possess extraordinary social intelligence. They use a complex system of sounds to communicate and orient themselves. Each group of orcas has its own dialect, a unique language that only family members can understand. They live in close-knit family units and remain together for life. However, behind the appearance of a supreme predator hides a surprising emotional depth. An orca mother insistently pushed the lifeless body of her newborn calf for 17 days. Despite the harshness of the marine currents, the mother traveled more than 1,600 kilometers to prevent it from sinking. That was not just instinct, but an expression of superior intelligence and a sacred maternal love. Her journey through the waves is part of the stories that nature has told since ancient times. The blue whale, the humpback whale, and the orca are living testimonies of the fascination of the ocean. While one species raises deep songs, the other, with its intelligence and complex emotions, reminds us of the greatness of creation. Under the blue waters continues an endless symphony between survival and invisible bonds. Under the golden light of the sunset over the sea surface, an ancestral silhouette glides in silence. Sea turtles are not simple creatures of the ocean. They are time travelers, carriers of the blood of ancestors that already existed since the Cretaceous, more than 110 million years ago. With a life expectancy that can exceed 100 years, each turtle is a living library that preserves the memory of the ocean. Their life is an epic of resistance. From the instant they break the shell and emerge from the sand, the small turtles must begin a great journey of more than 8,000 kilometers. It is one of the cruelest races for survival on the planet, where they must face monsters everywhere. These future guardians must use an extraordinary biological compass to orient themselves in the immensity of the ocean. To survive to adulthood, sea turtles have become masters of camouflage and escape. They must constantly avoid the pursuit of orcas and tiger sharks, which consider their shell a challenge for their jaws. Only 1 out of every 1,000 hatchlings manages to survive to complete the cycle of destiny. They return with precision to the same beach where they were born in order to reproduce and give continuity to their species. However, sea turtles do not fight solely for their own life. They are silent guardians who carry on their backs the balance of the entire marine ecosystem. With each bite on the seagrass beds, green turtles help regenerate these great underwater forests. These meadows are wonders of creation, capable of absorbing carbon with an efficiency up to 35 times greater than tropical forests. In coral reefs, turtles play an essential role by controlling sponge populations. They prevent these from invading and suffocating the colorful corals. But these ancestral giants now face a more terrifying shadow than any predator: the era of plastic waste. Each year, 8 million tons of plastic reach the ocean as a floating death sentence. Plastic bags, which move through the water with the appearance of jellyfish, have become mortal traps. More than 50% of the world's sea turtles have ingested plastic, suffering terrible pain before sinking into an eternal sleep. If these travelers disappear, the coral reefs would transform into white cemeteries and the cycle of life would be broken forever. The turtles are exhausting themselves in their mission. Will we wake up in time to protect them before it is too late? Leaving behind the silent footprints of the sea turtles, we venture into the open sea. We are going to meet an entity that challenges all limits of the imagination. It is the blue whale, the largest living being that has existed in the history of the planet. It is a living wonder that far exceeds the size of the most famous predatory dinosaurs. With a length that reaches 30 meters and a colossal weight of more than 200 tons, it represents the maximum expression of natural design. Each part of the body of this king is a biological miracle. Its heart has the size of a luxury car and can weigh up to 600 kilograms. With each slow but powerful beat, it pumps 220 liters of blood through arteries so wide that a child could swim inside. Even its tongue weighs as much as an adult elephant and offers space for more than 50 people to stand. But its true power resides in its call, the most intense sound ever recorded in the natural world. With an intensity of up to 188 decibels, this low-frequency vocalization breaks the silence of the ocean. It can echo more than 1,600 kilometers away, allowing these solitary kings to find a mate. Despite possessing an unprecedented size, the existence of the blue whale depends on a tiny being, the krill. Each day, an adult consumes up to 4 tons of food, which is equivalent to about 40 million of these small creatures. While crossing the ocean, it engulfs up to 90 tons of water at one time. It uses its baleen as a natural filter to retain life and return clean water to the sea. Scientists call this process the whale pump. By diving and returning to the surface, they transport essential nutrients like iron and nitrogen to the upper layers. This fertilizer feeds phytoplankton, a plant organism that produces 50% of the Earth's oxygen. A blue whale can store an amount of carbon equivalent to that of 30,000 mature trees. Its migratory journey is an epic out of time. These giants of hundreds of tons can reach speeds of up to 50 kilometers per hour. Even their calves are a wonder, since at birth they measure 7 meters and weigh 2.5 tons. Thanks to breast milk, the calves grow at an amazing rate of 90 kilograms per day. In just 1 year, they are ready to inherit the throes of the vast ocean. However, this king rules on a cracked throne. After the massacre caused by the whaling industry of the 20th century, today only between 10,000 and 25,000 solitary individuals remain. we are not protecting only an animal. We are protecting the heart that helps regulate the planet's climate. Will its call continue to echo, or will it fade forever into the void? Under the shadow of the king, the blue whale, live neighbours full of poetry. Humpback whales, with a body that can reach 16 metres in length and a weight of up to 36 tons. They do not rule by their absolute size. They rule by their soul of artists and their dances capable of captivating the human heart. In the middle of the immense ocean, the surface of the water suddenly explodes when the giant launches itself out of the waves. It draws a perfect arch in the air before falling with a thunder that echoes like the vibrating drum of Mother Nature. Their tail slaps, which can rise up to 5 meters, do not serve only to dislodge parasites. They are also a language of strength and freedom, but their true beauty is found in the mysterious melodies that emerge from the depths. The males sing together a synchronized song, a complex sequence of notes that can last up to 20 minutes. These melodies do not remain still. They change each year and propagate over thousands of nautical miles. They create a cultural network of oceanic music that humanity is only beginning to understand. In the middle of that world of majestic choruses, there is a painful story of eternal solitude. The 52 Hertz whale, while its peers sing at frequencies between 15 and 25 Hertz, this whale emits its call at 52 Hertz. For decades, it has wandered alone through the oceans, sending messages of love without ever receiving an answer. Its song is too high-pitched for other whales to hear. This makes it the loneliest creature on the planet, condemned to wander on a journey without destination. Even so, the blood of humpback whales continues to brim with life. Each year, they make a great migration of 8,000 kilometers from the icy waters of Antarctica to the warm coasts of Bahia, Brazil. There, the Abrolhos archipelago becomes a natural theatre where mothers care for their calves, which already weigh more than 1 ton. The little ones grow rapidly thanks to nutrient-rich breast milk. They learn to swim backward and to change direction using their 5-meter pectoral fins. This hydrodynamic wonder allows them to reach speeds of up to 27 kilometers per hour to escape predators. And when hunger calls, these artists are suddenly transformed into genial strategists with their bubble net technique. Coordinated with precision, they blow circles of bubbles to enclose thousands of small fish. They create an invisible prison before launching themselves together toward the surface and enjoying a great feast. Humpback whales remind us that the ocean is a realm full of emotions. Each song is a fragment of the soul, and each journey is an epic among countless waves. The sun barely touches the surface of the water when the dolphins break the silence with a dazzling display. The ocean awakens in an explosion of joy and energy. Under the emerald-colored waters, dolphins execute hunting strategies that can only be described as genius. With bodies between 2 and 4 meters in length, they possess a secret weapon: echolocation. By emitting sound pulses and receiving their echoes, they can see their prey even under the sand. Within the group, each individual assumes a strategic role to form an almost perfect unit of action. They surround schools of small fish and beat the water with their tails to create confusion. They coordinate each movement with a precision guided by an extraordinarily developed brain. But the life of dolphins is not limited to hunting. They are also the great artists of entertainment. Scientists have recorded surprising behaviors in young dolphins playing with pufferfish. They pass them gently from one individual to another, stimulating the fish to release small amounts of tetrodotoxin. In low doses, this toxin generates a state of excitement in their brains. This is a sign that their intelligence seeks experiences that go far beyond simple instinct. Sometimes, their mischievous character even makes other species, like seabirds, nervous. They enjoy life in a vibrant and unpredictable way in the immensity of the sea. The most wonderful thing about dolphins is their capacity for altruistic connection. They are messengers of peace, united to humanity by an invisible bond. There are stories of dolphins saving fishermen in danger or collaborating with them in Brazil. Their courage is almost incredible, as dolphins have been seen protecting people from attacks by white sharks. In New Zealand, the legendary dolphin Moko guided 2 stranded sperm whales back to safe waters. This capacity for empathy is due to the spindle cells present in their brain. Dolphins feel sadness when they lose a member of the group and remember their companions throughout their lives. They identify themselves by characteristic whistles, as if they were unique proper names. Even in courtship rituals, they offer seaweed as gifts to their partners. God created each creature with a capacity to love that goes beyond reason. Dolphins are one of the most luminous proofs of the perfection of creation. The light pierces the crystal clear water and illuminates the resplendent coral reefs. It is a city that never sleeps under the surface of the sea. Reefs are true oases in the middle of the ocean, places where life shines with greater intensity than in almost any other corner of the planet. Although they occupy barely 1% of the ocean floor, they offer refuge to about 25% of all marine species. In Brazil, the coral ecosystem of Abrolhos is a unique wonder. Located off the southern coast of Bahia, Abrolhos shelters huge coral formations known as chapeirões. They are mushroom-shaped structures that rise from the depths and create a majestic 3-dimensional space. In this bustling city, each inhabitant fulfills a vital function. The parrotfish, with its strong jaws, constantly chews fragments of dead coral to clean the reef. By doing so, it inadvertently creates fine strips of white sand. Further up, the aggressive damselfish defend their algae gardens against any intruder. But at the center of the strangest pacts is the clownfish. It is a small creature with its unmistakable orange and white suit that performs a dance of survival next to the sea anemone. The clownfish finds absolute safety among the poisonous tentacles of the anemone, a place where any other fish would be instantly paralyzed. The secret lies in a special layer of mucus that makes it immune to the poison. This transforms the anemone into an impenetrable fortress against predators like groupers or moray eels. In exchange, the clownfish acts as a faithful guardian. It determinedly drives away butterflyfish, experts in devouring anemone tentacles. Even their constant movements help improve water circulation. This increases the oxygen supply for its symbiotic partner. The relationships within the reef are even more complex and fascinating. The clownfish must survive skillfully within a network of diverse neighbors. It must remain attentive to cleaner fish, which eliminate parasites but can be opportunistic. It must also maintain a prudent distance from the extremely territorial damselfish. In particular, its social structure is an extraordinary proof of adaptation. If the dominant female dies, the largest male changes sex to take her place. This ensures the continuity of the family in the heart of this demanding coral city. However, this resplendent city is on the verge of deterioration. Climate change raises water temperature, causing coral bleaching. This causes the massive death of anemones. When anemones lose their color and wither, the clownfish and many other small species lose their protective fortress. They remain vulnerable to predators. If the harmony between the clownfish and the anemone disappears, the entire Abrolhos ecosystem could collapse. Each creature is a sacred link in the masterpiece of creation. Preserving them does not mean saving only a fish. It means preserving the vital heartbeat of an entire legendary coral kingdom. In the silent corners of the coral reef, sunlight barely survives as weak rays filtering through the cracks. There exists a spectral world ruled by ancient laws. In a universe full of bloodthirsty predators, a small and fragile creature fulfills a mysterious pact: the cleaner shrimp. With its body transparent as glass and its bright red and white stripes, it seems to embody the most devoted butlers of the darkness. Let us imagine a mystical service station under the sea. Ferocious giants like groupers, sharks, or moray eels suddenly abandon their killer instinct to wait patiently in line. A solemn silence envelops everything while the tiny shrimp travel over the body of the predators. They eliminate parasites and dead remains with great care. It is a rare peace pact where cleaner shrimp act as doctors. They are creatures capable of reading the balance of the reef. They communicate by means of strange dances and know how to prioritize VIP clients. These are the large fish that play a key role in maintaining coral order. Why do those sharp jaws not close on them? That is the secret of symbiosis, an invisible agreement engraved in the ocean's DNA since the most remote times. But advancing towards the darkest cracks, a gloomy realm emerges where death lurks behind each rock wall. It is the territory of moray eels. With smooth and flexible bodies, resembling giant snakes, they hide in the deepest cavities. During the day, they barely show their fierce head and watchful eyes. Those eyes never seem to blink, but when night falls, moray eels are transformed into invisible ghosts of the reef. Their weapon truly belongs to the world of nightmares. A double jaw. Deep in their throat hides a second jaw, known as the pharyngeal jaw. When the main jaw bites forcefully, the internal jaw projects forward like a hook emerged from death. It drags the victim inward without giving it a chance of escape. It is a brutal work of evolution that makes the moray eel the uncrowned sovereign of the darkness. The mystery of these inhabitants also resides in their bond with other species. Coordinated hunts between moray eels and groupers are a proof of collective intelligence. The grouper performs a vibration with its body to invite the moray eel out. One glides between the cracks to flush out the prey, while the other waits outside to intercept it. It is a lethal cooperation that no small creature can neutralize. Although they have the appearance of monsters, moray eels are silent guardians of the reef's balance. They control the populations of fish and crustaceans. They prevent explosions that could destroy the food chain. However, this dark realm now faces cracks opened by the human world. Pollution and coral bleaching are destroying ancient limestone fortresses. This leaves these cave inhabitants homeless. Moray eels do not actively attack human beings, but when their territory is invaded, their double jaw is ready to fulfill the last instinct of defense. Will these spectral cracks continue to harbor the secrets of the ocean, or will they be forever buried under the destruction of humanity? When the sunlight is completely extinguished by the depth, the ocean leads us toward a spectral realm of powerful shadows. There, survival no longer depends on common vision, but on almost supernatural senses and a supreme force. In the immense darkness that has dominated for millions of years, sharks appear as undisputed kings of the depths. They are beings that have ruled the oceans for more than 400 million years, surviving even the most devastating mass extinctions. At the head of the most feared predators is the great white shark, a perfect biological machine that can reach 6 meters in length. It glides through the sea at an amazing speed of 56 kilometers per hour, ripping the water with a jaw packed with sharp teeth. But what makes it truly mysterious is its capacity of invisible perception. Through the system of ampullae of Lorenzini located on its snout, the white shark can detect even the weakest electrical impulses of an hidden prey. In the absolute darkness of the ocean, it does not need eyes to see death. It can feel the vibration of life emerging from the vacuum. However, even in the realm of these cold-blooded killers, the ocean allows an amazing contradiction. The whale shark, with a length that oscillates between 12 and 18 meters, appears as a living island that floats among the mysterious waters. In absolute contrast with the lethal jaw of the white shark, the whale shark possesses an immense mouth intended solely to filter tons of water each day. An adult can consume up to 2 tons of food daily with absolute calm among the marine currents. It is a miraculous coexistence between terror and nobility, and both sustain together the ecological balance of the planet. Moving away from the power of these giants, the ocean guides us toward one of the most delicate and strange stories: the miracle of the seahorse. Among reefs full of dangers, the seahorse appears with its legendary S-shaped body. Its dorsal fin vibrates like a propeller, and its long tail clings to the coral like an eternal oath to the sea. Here, the sexual rules of nature are inverted in the most mysterious way. The male of the seahorse is the one who carries a sacred responsibility to gestate and protect life. After a hypnotic mating dance, the female deposits hundreds of eggs in the brood pouch located on the male's belly. This pouch is a mystical nursery where the eggs receive oxygen, nutrients, and rigorous protection. For 10 to 12 days, the father accepts the risk, bears the weight, and consumes his energy to care for the future of his species. The moment in which hundreds of small seahorses emerge from the paternal pouch is a wonder of creation. The reality is cruel. Only 1 out of 1,000 will manage to survive to adulthood. These tiny creatures must fight alone against a world that knows no compassion. The destructive force of the white shark, the greatness of the whale shark, and the fatherhood of the seahorse compose the portrait of the ocean. These stories continue to be written under dark layers where light can barely reach. Will we wake up in time to protect these legends, or will we allow them to fade like foam in the vacuum? The answer is not in the depths, but in the actions of each one of us today. Hundreds of years ago, explorers could only dream of hidden monsters or of crystal kingdoms shining in the depths. For the humanity of that time, everything that existed under the surface was forbidden territory. But today, a reality even more extraordinary than any science fiction movie appears before our eyes. When the sunlight disappears completely, the ocean enters the twilight zone. At depths between 200 and 1,000 meters, we do not venture into a uniform darkness, but into an infinite spectacle of neon lights. Hypnotic flashes float like wandering souls in this submerged universe. They are the product of living lighthouses. The creatures of this world have mastered the art of bioluminescence through sophisticated chemical reactions between luciferin and oxygen. One of the strangest inhabitants is the velvet belly lantern shark. Although it barely measures about 60 centimeters, it uses rows of luminous cells under its belly to camouflage itself against the light. It becomes an invisible ghost to enemies lurking from below. When night falls, the Twilight Zone witnesses the largest migration on the planet. Billions of tons of living beings ascend at the same time toward the surface layers to search for food. It is a vital heartbeat that keeps the ocean in constant motion. Beyond the threshold of the Twilight Zone, we fall into a realm of absolute darkness, the Abyssal Zone. At more than 4,000 meters depth, the temperature always remains close to freezing. It is below 4 degrees and the pressure is about 500 times higher than that of the surface. It is enough to crush even the most resistant steel hulls ever built. This is the last battlefield of evolution, where only the strongest and strangest creatures have the right to exist. In a shocking silence, huge, majestic rays glide noiselessly like giant ghosts. With a wingspan of up to 6 meters and an opaque skin that does not reflect light, they merge with the eternal darkness. On the bottom, more than 100,000 spider crabs group together in living mountains. They pile on top of each other to overcome the most dangerous moment of their lives, molting. Suddenly, an intense glow appears in the darkness. It is the presence of a deep-sea jellyfish. The Atolla jellyfish possesses a body with the shape of a mystical crown and tentacles that can reach up to 10 meters. It does not only emit light to warn, but also uses that glow as a distraction strategy. It attracts larger predators to attack whoever threatens it. With barely a touch of its lethal tentacles, the prey loses all chance of escaping this luminous trap. In the deepest place on the planet, where the border between life and death is as thin as a hair, another legend begins. This is the realm of fire and water, where the living torches of the earth continue to burn. About 75% of the planet's volcanoes are hidden under thousands of meters of water, active as powerful geological heartbeats. When hot lava comes into contact with icy water, it creates silent and fascinating explosions. These forces raise colossal mountains under the sea. Sometimes that force explodes with such power that it breaks through the ocean's surface and gives rise to paradises like Hawaii. But under a crushing pressure, at more than 2,500 meters depth, volcanoes do not only create land, they open the door to a mysterious ecosystem that challenges everything humanity believed it knew about biology. Near the geological cracks are hydrothermal vents, black towers that expel superheated water at more than 400 degrees. In an environment where the temperature could melt lead, life continues to flourish in an almost supernatural way. There, sunlight disappears completely and leaves room for another miracle, chemosynthesis. Around these vents of black smoke, millions of blind shrimp cluster in dense crowds. They do not need eyes to find light because they possess extremely sensitive thermal organs on their backs. They are capable of locating the source of life that gushes from the volcanic mouths. Next to them lives the Yeti crab, with strange feather-like filaments on its claws where it grows bacteria. Gigantic tube worms rise in sulfur-rich waters, becoming inhabitants of the underworld that thrive without sun. In the middle of the realm of hydrothermal columns, the ocean hides another almost magical phenomenon: marine snow. Organic particles and remains of creatures slowly descend like snowflakes inside an eternal crystal sphere. For the inhabitants of the deep bottom where there are no volcanoes, marine snow is the only source of salvation. Strange-shaped deep-sea fish and crystal sea cucumbers wait in silence on the mud, devouring those flakes. It is a silent but sacred connection between the resplendent upper layer and the dark bottom of the ocean. However, these ecosystems full of wonders now face a new dangerous shadow. Deep-sea mining threatens to destroy forever the valuable hydrothermal vents. If these torches are extinguished, we will lose a part of the most primitive memory of life. Will we be able to protect these eternal legends before being devoured by our own greed? The pulse of creation has never ceased to exist in this icy hell. In the northernmost extreme of the Earth, where the sea seems sealed under ancient layers of ice, the Arctic Ocean appears as a mysterious realm. Here, the ocean plunges into an icy white and a prolonged darkness. The surface of the sea is enclosed under a thick layer of ice, while the horizon disappears in an unsettling silence. However, in this region that seems cursed, life continues to exist in secret. Winter in the Arctic Ocean does not resemble any other winter on the planet. For months, the sun disappears, leaving an almost infinite night over the ice and all the creatures trying to survive. Icy winds sweep the frozen surface, and the temperature can fall below -40 degrees. Sea ice transforms the ocean into an implacable white desert where a single mistake costs life. But even in that polar night, the Arctic Ocean is not dead. Under the thick layer of ice, another world continues in motion with extraordinary resistance. Around the Svalbard archipelago, groups of belugas swim in silence through dark water corridors. Near Greenland, ringed seals dig snow shelters to protect their pups. In the Chukchi Sea, Arctic cod hides under the ice, searching for food in the icy waters. Life in the Arctic is not noisy, but silent, cautious, and always fragile. Each species possesses its own strategy to resist darkness, cold, and isolation. In that frozen kingdom, the polar bear is the supreme symbol of power. With its thick fur and its insulating fat layer, it is the dominant predator on the ice. Each of its steps on the white snow seems like the advance of a gigantic ghost. The main food of the polar bear is seals. It can wait for hours next to a breathing hole in the ice, motionless as if it were part of winter. It is enough for a seal to emerge in an instant of carelessness for the pounce to occur with brutal rapidity. But even the king of the polar world does not always win. When the ice is too thick, seals appear less frequently and winter becomes a severe sentence. Bears survive thanks to their fat reserves. Under the ice, a mysterious music continues to echo in the frozen ocean. It is the call of the belugas, the white travelers of the polar world. In the deep night, their sounds expand like ancient whispers and become an invisible map. Belugas measure around 4 meters and can weigh up to 1,600 kilograms. They possess the capacity to communicate and perceive the world through sound in an ocean with almost no light. Thanks to their echolocation system, they detect prey in the dense darkness. Each whistle and each call is a vital signal. In a world where eyes are no longer enough to find the way, sound becomes life. They usually move in groups, forming a white community that glides through the heart of the frozen sea. They feed on small fish and creatures that hide under the ice. Although they are magnificently adapted, they must still face a fearsome enemy, the orca. These huge black shadows can appear in open waters and hunt with great strategy. Faced with this threat, the white skin of the beluga becomes valuable camouflage. It helps it blend with the pale light of ice and snow. The Arctic Ocean is an ancient realm of darkness, ice, and extraordinary creatures. There the beluga sings in the middle of the night as if the entire ocean spoke from a frozen world. In that eternal winter, life exists thanks to patience, memory, and instinct. The Arctic Ocean reminds us that the deepest beauty is sometimes found in the darkness. Under a thick layer of ice, life always finds a way to continue, even in the loneliest and cruelest place. The heartbeat of creation remains firm. In the deep darkness of the Arctic Ocean, where the surface of the sea is enclosed under thick layers of ice, life does not disappear. It only hides under the surface, in cold and dark water corridors. There, each breath can become the last battle. Belugas and narwhals exist as two souls of the polar world. One species white as snow, and another bearing a spiral tusk. When winter arrives, the Arctic turns into a gigantic ice prison. Sea ice closes over their heads, leaving barely some cracks and small breathing holes. For belugas and narwhals, that is the fragile border between life and death. If those vents close, the entire group can get trapped in a desperate ice cavity. Belugas are the white singers of the frozen ocean. Their bodies lack a high dorsal fin, which allows them to move with greater ease right under the ice layer. Their white and ghostly skin helps them merge with the snow, hiding them from predators. In the darkness of the sea, belugas use whistles and resonant calls to find the way. For them, sound is a second pair of eyes. The narwhal possesses another type of mystery. Its long and twisted tusk can extend like an ice spear. Some rare individuals can have two tusks, resembling a mythological creature. This tusk could be related to competition between males and the expression of biological strength. But both species must submit to the ruthless rules of winter. The wind changes direction, the ice sheets collide with each other, and open waters close. A group of moving whales can get trapped suddenly in small cavities. Dozens of individuals crowd around a few vents, taking turns to take a hurried breath. Belugas survive, thanks to union, and call each other constantly to prevent the group from dispersing. Narwhals are masters of deep waters and can dive to search for fish. But the ice prison also attracts predators. The polar bear can wait next to a vent, and orcas can transform a haven into a battlefield. In that implacable world appeared an extraordinary secret: the narluga, a hybrid between beluga and narwhal. Genetic analyses have confirmed the existence of this first-generation hybrid. The narluga looks like a strange piece between two worlds, a very rare biological trace. When sea ice changes, species that once met rarely can cross with greater frequency. The beluga is the sound of darkness, and the narwhal is a living legend under the ice. They prove that the Arctic Ocean is a cruel realm where life continues to write its history. When the ice begins to melt, winter recedes like a ghost. The Arctic awakens under a strange light that lasts for 24 hours a day. Under the cold sea, phytoplankton organisms multiply and form the basis of the entire living world. The Arctic summer begins with the silent awakening of the smallest creatures. Then the sky changes when millions of birds return to the polar world. The Arctic tern is a legendary traveler that migrates more than 35,000 kilometers between the Arctic and Antarctica. On the cold coasts, the terns begin to build their nests in very little time. Each egg on the cold ground seems like a challenge before the extreme of the world. Snow geese and many other migratory birds also invade the sky. The Arctic becomes a living labyrinth, where each song sounds like a note of summer. But where life concentrates, death also appears in silence. When fish and seals become abundant, orcas enter Arctic waters like black shadows. On a floating ice floe, a seal believes it has found its last refuge, but the group of orcas cooperates to create waves that rock the ice until the prey falls. Therefore, the Arctic summer is both luminous and tragic. The prolonged light does not bring peace, but a ruthless race where birds must breed and seals accumulate fat. Orcas must hunt before the ice closes the entrances to the ocean again. Very soon, the cold wind will return, and the ice will spread over the sea again. The flocks will depart, and the Arctic will close the summer door, even flooded with light. It remains a land of secrets and survival battles that never end. Just under the waves lies the surface layer of the ocean, where life explodes with extraordinary force. Sunlight not only illuminates, but feeds the first form of life of the ocean. At the center of this ecosystem are tiny, almost invisible beings, the plankton. These small particles of life, smaller than a grain of sand, are the basis of most marine life. Through photosynthesis, they produce up to 70% of the Earth's oxygen, more than all terrestrial forests combined. In each breath, our life depends, in part, on these tiny beings. Plankton is also a silent force against climate change by absorbing a large part of the CO2 that humans release. A single tablespoon of seawater can contain millions of these organisms working in silence. Along with plankton, seaweed of the surface layer performs its dance of photosynthesis and provides energy. Everything depends on this surface, which is the first door to much deeper mysteries. In the vast universe of the ocean, marine currents move without rest, regulating the global climate. They are natural highways for the migration of creatures, from whales to huge schools of herring. The Gulf Stream winds along North America before heading toward Europe. This flow acts as a natural heating system, making the climate of northern Europe milder. There is a wonderful link between the ocean and the jungle that few people really get to see. Marine currents transport moisture to the interior of continents, contributing to the rains that feed the Amazon. The ocean and the Amazon rainforest are deeply intertwined and together sustain life on Earth. Ocean currents are invisible bridges that join continents, ecosystems, and also the destiny of humanity. It is here where our responsibility becomes clearer than ever. God handed the ocean to humanity as a sacred gift that sustains life and allows us to contemplate the greatness of creation. This is not only a story about whales or coral reefs. It is a story about ourselves and the way we human beings choose to live next to nature. In Brazil, the recovery story of the humpback whale has become a symbol of hope. There was a time when their songs were almost completely extinguished due to commercial hunting. Thanks to the hunting ban and conservation programs, humpback whales have begun to return. An estimate from 2025 indicates that the population in the southwestern Atlantic reached 27,362 individuals. Countries are expanding marine protected areas and restoring coral reefs. By 2026, the world has reached approximately 10% of the protected ocean, although we are still far from the goal of 30% by 2030. However, each year about 11 million tons of plastic waste continue to reach the seas. If firm measures are not taken, the amount of plastic entering the ocean could almost triple by 2040. Even so, among those worrying figures, the light has not gone out. Coastal cities are investing in sewage treatment, and scientists are tracking whales through satellites. Protecting the ocean is not only an environmental choice, but also a moral and sacred mission. When we protect whales, we are protecting the ancient songs of the sea. Choose a cloth bag instead of a plastic bag. Reject straws and single-use plastic products when they're not necessary to contribute a small part to the planet's life. A small action may not change the whole world in a single day, but millions of small actions can create a wave strong enough to transform the future. The ocean does not need our pity, but our change. If we know how to listen to the sound of the waves and the warning of the warming seas, perhaps we still have a chance. Leave a comment below. What do you think humanity should do first to protect the ocean? Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell. Today's journey comes to an end, but the mission to protect the ocean continues. While we still know how to protect life, hope will never have disappeared. Light pierces the water, colors awaken on the reef. The coral reef. Life, movement, a world in constant change. Tiny fish hide. Shadows hunt among the corals. Every corner is a refuge, and also a trap. Beyond the reef, the open ocean breathes freely. The dolphin. Intelligence. Speed. A group hunter. Swimming in sync. Surrounding. Striking with precision. In the ocean, survival is a game of cooperation and strategy. Welcome to Exploring the Ocean, the predators hidden in the depths of the ocean. Please give us a like and subscribe to the channel to motivate us to create more quality content. Don't forget to comment your thoughts about the video below and join the discussion. Let's get started. Beneath the crystal clear waters of a tropical coral reef, where sunlight pierces the surface in shimmering bands, the ocean appears as an immense living garden. Coral branches rise like small towers. Butterfly fish glide between rock crevices, and groups of tiny organisms sway gently with the current. In the midst of this dazzling world, a small creature moves slowly across a block of coral. Its body displays colors so intense it looks like a living jewel placed in the heart of the ocean. Known as the nudibranch, this is one of the strangest and most beautiful creatures of the underwater world. Although it measures only a few centimeters, it possesses a shape and coloration that can make any diver stop and stare. Its soft body is not protected by a hard shell like many other mollusks. Instead, it features delicate structures resembling petals or small coral branches growing along its back. Tones of blue, violet, yellow, and orange blend in complex patterns that look as if they were hand-painted. In nature, these intense colors are not just a display of beauty, but a warning to predators. This tiny creature is not easy prey. The nudibranch moves slowly over rocks and corals in search of small organisms like sponges and hydras. In its mouth, it has a special structure, a tongue-like organ covered with thousands of tiny teeth that allows it to efficiently scrape the tissues of its prey. But what is most astonishing about this animal is its defensive capability. Some species can absorb toxins from their prey and store them within their own bodies, effectively becoming chemically armed. Certain species are even capable of retaining the stinging cells of hydras and using them to defend themselves against enemies. An extraordinarily refined survival strategy in the competitive world of the coral reef. The life cycle of the nudibranch also presents very particular traits. Most species are hermaphrodites, meaning each individual possesses both male and female reproductive organs. This increases their chances of reproducing in an environment where finding a mate is not always easy. When the breeding season arrives, they lay fine ribbons of eggs coiled in spirals on the surface of rocks or coral. Within these delicate bands, hundreds of embryos develop, preparing for their first journey. Upon hatching, the larvae float in the current as part of the plankton before settling on the seabed and transforming into adults. Despite their small size, nudibranchs play an important role within the coral reef ecosystem. By controlling the population of sponges and other encrusting organisms, they help maintain the balance of the underwater habitat. Scientists often consider their presence a sign that the reef remains healthy and possesses high biodiversity. However, like many other marine creatures, nudibranchs face growing challenges. Climate change, ocean pollution, and the deterioration of coral reefs are altering the environment in which they live. As these coral gardens slowly disappear, creatures as small as these also risk losing their home. In the silence of the ocean, the tiny nudibranch continues its slow journey across a coral branch. Its colors glow under the light piercing the water, a reminder that the ocean's beauty lies not only in its giants. It also lies in those delicate creatures we easily overlook. Yet, scientists continue to ask fascinating questions. How can such a small being absorb and store toxins from its prey without harming itself? And if the ocean is capable of creating such strange biological mechanisms, how many other evolutionary secrets remain hidden beneath the coral reefs, still beyond true human understanding? In another corner of the ocean, where coral reefs give way to dark crevices and small caves on the seabed, another creature exists in silence in a completely different way. Beneath the deep blue waters, where sunlight is no more than a faint glow, a soft form slides slowly out of a rocky crevice. It is not strength or speed that allows it to survive, but its intelligence, adaptability, and extraordinary flexibility. This is the octopus, one of the most intelligent invertebrates in the ocean. The octopus's body is so soft and flexible that it seems to have no limits. Having no rigid skeleton, it can slide through tiny cracks barely larger than one of its eyes. Its 8 arms extend like living tentacles, each covered with hundreds of sensitive suckers. These are capable of perceiving taste, pressure, and the texture of the environment. Studies in neurobiology have shown that an octopus possesses around 500 million neurons, a number approaching that found in the brain of a small dog. Most surprisingly, more than 2/3 of those neurons are located in its arms, allowing each one to process information and react almost independently of the central brain. This results in a distributed nervous system, something truly rare in the animal kingdom. The octopus's skin is also an evolutionary marvel. In an instant, it can change color, pattern, and even texture to blend in with rocks, sand, or coral. This is possible thanks to pigment cells called chromatophores, along with other light-reflecting cell layers. When the nervous system activates them, the octopus's color can transform in fractions of a second. Because of this, it can disappear almost completely from the sight of both predators and prey. But what truly stands out is this creature's intelligence. In many experiments, octopuses have proven capable of learning to open jars to obtain food, remembering their way through simple mazes, and improving their problem-solving speed after several attempts. Some individuals have even been observed using shells or other objects as mobile shelters. These behaviors show that the octopus does not act solely on instinct, but can also learn and adapt from experience. In the wild, the octopus is a skilled and patient hunter. Instead of chasing its prey, it often employs an ambush strategy. When it detects a crab, shrimp, or small fish, it approaches slowly while its body blends into the surroundings. At precisely the right moment, its arms launch forward with startling speed and completely envelop the prey. Some species even use mildly toxic saliva to paralyze their prey before using their hard, bird-like beak to break through shells. The life of an octopus, however, is quite short compared to many other marine creatures. Most species live for only 1 to 2 years. When the breeding season arrives, the female seeks a safe cavity among the rocks to deposit thousands of tiny eggs. She then remains there, protecting them, constantly fanning water over them to provide oxygen. During this entire time, the mother hardly eats. And when the last hatchlings finally emerge and disperse into the ocean, her life cycle also comes to an end. Within the marine ecosystem, the octopus plays the role of an important intermediate predator. It controls the population of many crustaceans and small fish, while simultaneously becoming prey for sharks, large fish, and other marine animals. In this way, it occupies a fundamental position within the ocean's food chain. However, the environment in which it lives is also changing. Marine pollution, the degradation of coral reefs, and climate change are affecting many coastal ecosystems where it resides. Even so, its vast adaptability and rapid growth lead many scientists to believe that the octopus may be one of the best prepared species for the future. In the soft darkness of the seabed, an octopus slides slowly out of a rocky crevice. Its soft arms traverse the sand, and in just a few seconds, its body color blends with the stone surrounding it. In the deep world of the ocean, the octopus is proof of another form of intelligence in nature. One where flexibility and problem-solving ability can become the key to survival. And it is precisely this strange intelligence that has led many scientists to ask even bigger questions about the evolution of the mind on Earth. Could intelligence develop along very different paths within nature? Could some marine creature eventually develop a completely different civilization? Some researchers have wondered if the origin of life, or certain great evolutionary leaps, might have been related to organic matter arriving from outside Earth. Hypotheses like these remain a matter of debate and do not yet have conclusive proof. But they remind us that the history of life on this planet still holds many unresolved mysteries. And while humans continue trying to find answers to those big questions, beneath the deep waters of the ocean, the octopus carries on with its life, a soft, intelligent creature full of mystery. In tropical waters where the ocean is so clear that sunlight reaches the seabed, an extraordinary world is built slowly over thousands of years. From a distance, massive limestone structures appear like ancient submerged cities. Corals rise to form irregular walls, complex arches, and colorful mazes where thousands of species find refuge. But the most surprising fact is that this entire gargantuan structure is built by tiny organisms, each barely the size of a pinhead. They are the corals, the silent architects of the ocean. Each coral structure is actually a colony made up of thousands of small organisms called polyps. These soft-bodied animals belong to the same group as jellyfish and sea anemones. Each polyp has a tubular body with tiny tentacles surrounding its mouth, ready to capture minute creatures floating by in the current. Within their tissue, there is also a remarkable symbiotic relationship with microalgae known as zooxanthellae. These tiny algae use sunlight to perform photosynthesis and produce energy that feeds the coral, while the coral provides them with shelter and nutrients. This delicate cooperation is the foundation of coral reefs, one of the most diverse ecosystems on the planet. Over years and centuries, coral polyps secrete a layer of hard limestone that surrounds their bodies. When one generation of polyps dies, the next grows over the same skeleton, layer after layer. Over time, this extremely slow process gives rise to gigantic reefs that can stretch for hundreds of kilometers. Some reefs are so large they can even be seen from space, such as Australia's Great Barrier Reef. These underwater cities are not simple stone structures. They are true centers of life. More than a quarter of all marine species are thought to depend on coral reefs at some stage of their life cycle. Small fish find refuge among coral branches. Crustaceans hide in their crevices, and larger predators patrol the reef's edges. Corals don't just create habitats, they also help maintain the balance of the entire marine ecosystem. However, these ancient architects of the ocean today face one of the greatest challenges in their history. When water temperatures rise, the symbiotic relationship between coral and algae breaks down. The algae are expelled from the coral tissue and the skeleton is left exposed, turning a pale white color. This phenomenon is known as coral bleaching. If this situation persists for too long, the polyps die, and living cities that took thousands of years to build can disappear in just a few decades. Even so, in many regions of the world, reefs continue to grow, adapt, and recover. Scientists are currently studying coral populations that seem to better resist high temperatures. There is hope that these resilient corals may help restore damaged ecosystems. Because when corals are healthy, an entire ocean of life is as well. Amidst the transparent waters, a small branch of coral continues to grow millimeter by millimeter each year, a change so slow it is almost invisible. But over the centuries, these tiny creatures will build gigantic reefs, where thousands of other species will find their home. In that silent patience, corals remind us that even the smallest organisms can create some of the greatest wonders. Among the bright branches of tropical coral reefs, where sunlight pierces the crystal clear water and draws glints on the seabed, a strange garden sways gently with the current. Anemone tentacles extend like blooming petals, swaying elegantly underwater. For many marine creatures, those tentacles are a deadly trap. They contain stinging cells capable of paralyzing prey in an instant. However, in the middle of that dangerous garden, a small creature swims freely among the tentacles without suffering any harm. This is the clownfish, one of the best-known inhabitants of the coral reef. The clownfish's body is small but very striking. Reaching a length of about 10 centimeters, its bright orange color is crossed by white bands bordered in black. This color contrast makes it easily recognizable in the middle of the coral world. Its round eyes constantly observe the environment, while its small fins beat gently to stay nestled among the anemone's tentacles. At first glance, it seems to live in a dangerous place, but it is actually one of the most famous symbiotic relationships in nature. The clownfish and the anemone maintain a relationship from which both benefit. A special layer of mucus on the clownfish's skin protects it from the venom of the anemone's tentacles, allowing it to live among them without harm. In exchange, the clownfish protects the anemone from certain fish that might feed on its tentacles, and also provides nutrients from food scraps and waste. Additionally, its presence attracts other small creatures that can become food for the anemone. This symbiotic relationship is a fascinating example of cooperation in nature. Regarding its diet, the clownfish is not a major predator. It feeds mainly on plankton, small algae, and food fragments floating in the water. It rarely strays far from its anemone, as those tentacles offer effective protection against predators. When danger appears, the clownfish quickly takes refuge among the tentacles and disappears from sight. The clownfish's life cycle also has a startling characteristic. Within each group living around an anemone, there is a clear hierarchy. The largest female dominates the group, followed by the breeding male and then the smaller individuals. Curiously, all clownfish are born as males. If the dominant female dies, the largest male gradually transforms into a female to maintain the group's reproduction. After mating, the male is usually responsible for guarding the eggs. He constantly fans them with his fins to provide oxygen until the tiny larvae finally hatch and begin their life in the open ocean. Within the reef ecosystem, the clownfish plays a small but important role. It contributes to maintaining the symbiotic relationship with anemones and is part of the reef's food chain. When they stray from the protection of their anemone, these fish can also become prey for larger predators. However, the clownfish faces new challenges. Rising ocean temperatures and coral bleaching are affecting its habitat. Additionally, in some regions, collection for the aquarium trade has put pressure on certain populations. Despite this, in many reefs, clownfish continue to swim among the undulating tentacles of anemones, like tiny orange sparks dancing in the underwater garden. In the complex world of the ocean, its relationship with the anemone reminds us that life is not sustained solely through competition, but also thanks to delicate alliances between species. It is precisely these alliances that make coral reefs one of the most extraordinary ecosystems on the planet. In the middle of the glowing labyrinth of a tropical coral reef, where coral branches curve like underwater gardens and sunlight forms golden glints through the water, a small group of fish moves gently through rocky crevices. They move slowly, but with a natural elegance, like coloured leaves floating in the current. As they approach, the complex patterns of their bodies become visible. Bands of yellow, white, black and orange intertwine to form delicate designs. These are butterfly fish, one of the most beautiful and elegant species in the reef world. Butterfly fish have a flat, almost rounded body that allows them to move easily through the narrow spaces of coral branches. Most measure between 10 and 20 centimeters in length, but their color combination makes them stand out against the underwater landscape. Many species feature a black spot near the tail that looks like a false eye, while the true eye remains hidden by a dark band across the head. This pattern confuses predators, making it difficult for them to determine the direction in which the fish intends to escape. Butterfly fish are closely linked to coral reefs. They spend much of their time swimming slowly among coral structures in search of food. With their long, narrow snouts, they can reach into small cracks to capture plankton, tiny worms or coral polyps. Some species depend almost entirely on live corals to survive, making them one of the most sensitive fish to ecosystem changes. Unlike many species that live in large schools, butterfly fish often appear in pairs. Two individuals swim together through the coral labyrinth, rarely separating. Scientists believe many species form pair bonds that can last for several years. Together, they defend a small territory where they find enough food and a safe place to reproduce. During the breeding season, pairs ascend to more open waters above the reef. The female releases her eggs into the current, while the male fertilizes them. The tiny eggs float with marine currents and become part of the plankton before the juveniles return to the reef. In the coral ecosystem, butterfly fish are considered important bioindicators. When reefs are healthy, these fish appear in abundance. But when corals degrade or suffer bleaching, their populations usually decline rapidly. Today, many coral reefs worldwide face threats such as climate change, pollution, and overexploitation. As these underwater gardens deteriorate, tiny artists like butterfly fish also lose their home. However, in reefs that are still healthy, they continue to swim among the colorful coral structures. In the transparent waters, a pair of butterfly fish slides between corals like two soft brushstrokes on the ocean's living canvas. In that peaceful scene, they remind us that the beauty of the sea lies not only in its grandeur, but also in the delicate details of life. Within the complex labyrinth of colors in the tropical reef, where sunlight intertwines between coral branches and schools of fish shine like fragments of a mirror, a creature of extraordinary beauty comes into view. It moves slowly and elegantly, as if floating through an underwater garden. Its body is decorated with intense tones of bright yellow, deep blue, and perfectly defined black lines. This is the angelfish, one of the most dazzling species in coral reefs. The angelfish has a tall and laterally compressed body, with long, soft fins that extend like fabric floating in the water. Depending on the species, it can measure between 10 and 40 centimeters in length. However, what really distinguishes it are the complex color patterns that adorn its body. Many species feature combinations of blue, yellow, orange, or white, arranged in symmetrical shapes that look like true works of art. Interestingly, juvenile angelfish often have completely different patterns than adults. The curved blue and white lines covering their bodies not only create a unique appearance, but also help them avoid direct competition with adults within the same territory. In their daily lives, angelfish spend much of their time exploring the reef for food. With their small, pointed mouths, they pick up organisms attached to coral surfaces, especially sponges, algae, and small invertebrates. Some species play an important role in controlling sponge growth, thereby contributing to the balance of the coral ecosystem. Although they are not aggressive predators, they must remain alert to larger fish that might attack them. The social life of angelfish is also interesting. Many species live in pairs or small groups within a defined territory. The male usually defends that territory against other individuals of the same species, ensuring sufficient resources and safe refuge. During the breeding season, pairs swim toward open waters above the reef to release their eggs. These float with the currents and become part of the plankton before developing into juveniles. Within the coral ecosystem, angelfish help maintain biodiversity by controlling the proliferation of certain organisms. Furthermore, their presence contributes to the visual richness and dynamism of the underwater landscape. However, like many other reef inhabitants, they also face the effects of changes in the ocean. Rising water temperatures and coral bleaching are altering their natural habitats. In some regions, capture for the ornamental fish trade has also put pressure on certain populations. Still, in healthy reefs, angelfish continue to swim among the coral structures. When light passes through the clear water, their colors shine like moving fragments of glass. In the fascinating world of the ocean, the angelfish becomes a symbol of the beauty and diversity of underwater life. When morning sunlight illuminates the shallow reefs of tropical seas, the ocean begins to wake up with the gentle movements of countless creatures. Among the coral labyrinth, a vividly colored fish appears, moving slowly between ancient coral formations. Its body reflects tones of turquoise blue, pink, purple, and yellow, like a living color palette of the ocean. As it approaches, a soft sound can be heard underwater, like scraping on stone. This is the parrotfish, one of the most unique species of the reef. The parrotfish gets its name from its peculiar mouth. Its teeth are fused together, forming a hard structure similar to a parrot's beak, allowing it to scrape algae and small organisms from the coral surface. Depending on the species, it can measure from a few decimeters to over a meter in length in the largest individuals. But what truly distinguishes it is its extraordinary coloration. Many feature combinations of blue, green, pink, and yellow that blend in complex patterns, making them some of the most colorful inhabitants of tropical oceans. During the day, parrotfish swim slowly through the reef in search of food. Using their strong beaks, they scrape small layers from the coral surface to consume the algae and microorganisms growing on it. In this process, they also crush fragments of the coral's calcareous skeleton. An adult parrotfish can produce hundreds of kilograms of sand every year. Most of that material is pulverized inside their digestive system and subsequently expelled as fine sand. Thanks to this apparently simple process, parrotfish play a fundamental role in the formation of many tropical beaches. The famous soft white sands of many Caribbean or Pacific islands originate largely from the activity of these fish over thousands of years. Furthermore, by feeding on algae, they prevent them from overgrowing and smothering the corals, allowing the reef to continue developing. The parrotfish's life cycle also presents fascinating characteristics. Many species can change sex throughout their lives. In a group of parrotfish, the largest individuals are usually dominant males. If that male disappears, an adult female can gradually transform into a male and assume group leadership. This phenomenon demonstrates the extraordinary adaptability of marine organisms to maintain the stability of their populations. During the night, when predators begin to move in the reef, some parrotfish use a startling strategy to protect themselves. They secrete a layer of mucus that envelops their body, forming a kind of transparent cocoon. This cocoon helps mask its scent and offers some protection while they rest among the corals. Within the coral ecosystem, the parrotfish is one of the most important species for reef health. Without their constant consumption of algae, corals could quickly become covered by marine vegetation, hindering their growth. Therefore, the presence of parrotfish is usually a sign of a healthy reef. However, in many regions of the world, these species face pressure due to overfishing and reef deterioration. When parrotfish populations decline, the balance of the ecosystem is also affected. For this reason, more and more scientists consider protecting parrotfish to be fundamental to preserving coral reefs and tropical beaches. Under the bright light of the reef, a parrotfish continues to slowly scrape the surface of an ancient coral, leaving behind tiny grains of sand. Over thousands of years, those grains will form the white beaches that humans admire. And in that silent process, the parrotfish continues to fulfill its role as one of the ocean's invisible builders. In the shallow waters near the coast, where sunlight reaches the seabed and fields of seagrass sway gently with the tides, a tiny creature clings silently to a plant stem. At first glance, it looks like a dry branch or a fragment of seaweed floating in the current. But on closer inspection, its unmistakable shape begins to reveal itself. A curved head reminiscent of a horse's. A long tail coiled like a spring, and a body covered by rigid bony plates. This is the seahorse, one of the most unique creatures in the ocean. Seahorses possess an appearance so particular they hardly resemble any other fish. They swim vertically, with their heads pointing upward, and advance by rapidly moving a small dorsal fin located on their back. However, they are not fast swimmers. Instead of traveling long distances, they use their prehensile tail to hold firmly to seagrass, soft corals, or other underwater structures, allowing them to remain stable against the current. Depending on the species, seahorses can measure from a few centimeters to nearly 30 centimeters in length. Their bony armor gives them an ancient look, as if they were creatures out of a mythological tale. Many species also have the ability to change color to blend in with their surroundings, adopting yellow tones from seagrass or brown and green colors similar to corals. This camouflage ability is fundamental for surviving in a world where their small size could easily make them prey. Seahorses are patient hunters. They remain almost motionless among marine plants while waiting for small planktonic creatures to pass by. When prey approaches, their elongated snout acts like a small suction pump that vacuums the animal in a fraction of a second. Their diet consists mainly of tiny crustaceans, larvae, and plankton. In the natural world, seahorses are famous for a very unusual biological trait. The male is the one who becomes pregnant. After the female deposits the eggs into a special pouch located on the male's abdomen, they are fertilized and develop within his body. During the gestation period, the male provides oxygen and nutrients to the embryos. When the moment of birth arrives, he contracts his body to expel dozens or even hundreds of tiny seahorses into the ocean. Within the coastal ecosystem, seahorses help control populations of small crustaceans and plankton. At the same time, they themselves become prey for larger fish. Their presence is often associated with areas where seagrass and reef ecosystems remain healthy. However, these habitats are declining in many regions. Coastal pollution, the destruction of seagrass beds, and unregulated fishing have led to the reduction of many seahorse populations. Additionally, in some parts of the world, they are also captured for traditional medicine or the aquarium trade. Still, in calm waters where seagrasses continue to grow, seahorses maintain their position, clinging to the delicate plant stems while they wait for the current to bring them food. With its strange shape and unique reproductive method, these creatures are a startling example of the creativity of evolution. And among the undulating fields of seagrass, this small warrior of the ocean continues its silent existence. In the warm waters of tropical reefs, where sunlight filters through coral branches forming golden rays, a creature of extraordinary appearance moves slowly through the underwater landscape. Its long fins extend like delicate fans, while its body is adorned with red, brown and white stripes running along its length. Sliding through the coral labyrinth, it looks like a figure from an underwater painting. But behind that beauty hides one of the reef's most formidable predators, the lionfish. The lionfish has a relatively small body, usually measuring between 30 and 40 centimeters in length. However, its large pectoral and dorsal fins give it a much more imposing appearance. The long spines running along its back contain potent venom, forming an effective defense system that deters most predators. Its striking red and white stripes don't just provide beauty, they also function as a warning to anyone who gets too close. Unlike many predators that actively chase their prey, the lionfish is a master of the ambush. It moves slowly, almost floating with the current, approaching small fish or shrimp without raising suspicion. When the prey is close enough, the lionfish spreads its fins to corner it and prevent its escape. In an instant, it opens its wide mouth, and the prey disappears. During the day, the lionfish usually remains hidden in rock crevices or under coral structures. When night falls and many small fish leave their refuges, it becomes more active. Its combination of camouflage, slow movements and broad fins makes it a very efficient hunter within the reef. The lionfish's reproductive cycle also contributes to its success. Females can release eggs many times a year, producing tens of thousands of tiny eggs that float in the water. These larvae travel with the currents before settling on new reefs. This high reproductive capacity allows the species to expand rapidly. In its natural range in the Indian and Pacific Oceans, the lionfish is part of the ecological balance. However, when it appears outside its original area, it can become an invasive species. In the Caribbean Sea and the Western Atlantic, where it lacks natural predators, its populations have grown rapidly and exert heavy pressure on small fish communities. Despite its venom and skill as a hunter, the lionfish remains part of the ocean's fascinating diversity. In the reefs where it naturally resides, its presence contributes to the ecosystem's balance. Beneath the blue sea light, its fins open like strange petals in the coral garden. In the vast world of the ocean, the lionfish reminds us of a frequent truth in nature. Beauty and danger often exist side by side. Far from the colourful coral labyrinths, the ocean opens into an immense and silent space. In the deep, bluish waters, where sunlight gradually dissolves into an infinite blue, a gigantic silhouette slides gently through the water column. There is no noise or hurry, only slow and elegant movements, as if it were a bird flying in the blue sky. This is the manta ray, one of the ocean's largest and most graceful creatures. Manta rays have a broad, flattened body with enormous pectoral fins that extend like wings and can reach a span of up to 7 meters in adult individuals. When they swim, these massive fins move smoothly, creating the impression of a gigantic bird gliding underwater. On the front of their head, they have 2 curved lobes called cephalic fins, which usually remain rolled up like small horns. When they feed, these structures unfurl to direct plankton-rich water into their mouths. Despite their enormous size, manta rays are peaceful creatures. They do not hunt large prey. Instead, they feed mainly on plankton and small crustaceans floating in the ocean. While feeding, they swim slowly through nutrient-rich waters, opening their mouths to filter thousands of tiny organisms from the water. Occasionally, they perform elegant circular turns that further concentrate the plankton before continuing their slow underwater flight. Manta rays are also known for their intelligence and relatively complex social behavior. Various studies indicate they possess large brains in proportion to their bodies and can remember areas rich in food. In some parts of the ocean, they regularly visit so-called cleaning stations, where small fish swim around their bodies, feeding on parasites. During this process, the manta remains almost motionless in the water while the tiny cleaners perform their work. their reproduction is much slower than that of many small fish. Females usually give birth to a single pup after a gestation that can exceed 1 year. The pup is born with a wingspan of over 1 meter and quickly begins its independent life in the ocean. This low reproductive rate makes their populations especially vulnerable to external threats. In the open ocean ecosystem, manta rays play an important role by consuming vast amounts of plankton. Their presence usually indicates nutrient-rich waters and healthy ecosystems. However, today they face various threats. In some regions, they are captured for their gill rakers and meat, while marine pollution and climate change can affect the availability of their food. For this reason, many organizations are currently working to protect these giants of the ocean. In the immensity of the sea, a manta ray continues to glide through the blue waters. Its enormous wings move slowly with silent elegance. In that moment, it looks like a giant bird flying beneath the ocean, reminding us that the sea is not just a place of struggle for survival, but also a world of extraordinary beauty and grace. On the high seas, where the ocean stretches without limits and currents transport countless tiny creatures through layers of water, a gigantic and strange figure emerges slowly near the surface. At first glance, it looks like a massive disc floating in the ocean. Unlike most fish, its body is not elongated but round and flattened, like a gigantic wheel. This is the ocean sunfish, also known as the mola mola, one of the heaviest bony fish in existence. The sunfish possesses a shape so singular that it is impossible to mistake it for any other marine creature. Its body is almost a large disc, with an enormous dorsal fin and another anal fin rising like two sails. The traditional tail practically does not exist and has been replaced by a short, wide structure called a clavus. Adults can exceed 3 meters in length and reach up to 2 tons in weight, making the ocean sunfish one of the largest bony fish on the planet. Despite its colossal size, the ocean sunfish moves relatively slowly. It swims using its large fins, which beat rhythmically like the wings of a bird underwater. Sometimes it floats near the surface and tips onto its side, as if it were sunbathing. This behavior is believed to help it regulate its body temperature after diving into deep, cold waters. Its diet consists mainly of soft organisms like jellyfish, gelatinous plankton, and other floating animals. Although jellyfish contain few nutrients, the sunfish compensates for this disadvantage by consuming them in large quantities. Its small mouth has fused teeth forming a hard plate that allows it to crush its prey. The life of the sunfish also presents extraordinary characteristics. Females can produce more eggs than any other known vertebrate. A single individual can release more than 300 million eggs during a single reproduction. Newly born larvae measure only a few millimeters and have a completely different appearance from adults before gradually transforming into the characteristic rounded shape. In the open ocean ecosystem, the sunfish helps control jellyfish populations. When their numbers remain stable, they contribute to balancing this group of organisms. However, they can also become prey for large predators like sharks and orcas. Today, the sunfish faces several dangers. It frequently gets accidentally trapped in fishing nets or ingests floating plastic trash, especially bags that can be mistaken for jellyfish. Additionally, changes in the marine environment can also affect its food supply. Despite everything, in the vast ocean, the sunfish continues its slow journey. Sometimes its enormous silhouette appears near the surface, with its dorsal fin emerging like a small sail. With its strange shape and impressive size, this giant reminds us that the ocean still holds countless mysteries that we are only beginning to understand. Along the cold coasts of the Pacific Ocean, where deep nutrient-rich currents rise from the seabed, there exists an extraordinary world that grows beneath the surface. When descending underwater in these regions, sunlight pierces the dark blue and illuminates long structures rising from the seabed to nearly reach the surface. Their long leaves sway with the current, creating the sensation of an ancient forest moving gently beneath the sea. These are kelp forests, one of the ocean's largest and most dynamic ecosystems. Giant kelp can grow at a startling speed. In favorable conditions, some species can lengthen more than 30 centimeters in a single day. Their flexible yet resistant stems are anchored to the rocky bottom by a root-like structure called a holdfast. From there, the stems extend upward, forming long leaves and small gas-filled bladders that allow them to float near the surface to capture sunlight. Although they resemble plants, kelps are actually large algae. However, they fulfill a function very similar to that of the trees in terrestrial forests. Through photosynthesis, they transform light into energy and produce vast amounts of oxygen for the environment. These underwater forests can reach up to 30 meters in height, creating complex three-dimensional structures beneath the water. Within these forests, life prospers. Hundreds of species of fish, invertebrates, and marine mammals find refuge and food among the kelp stems. Small fish hide among the leaves to avoid predators, while crustaceans cling to the algae in search of food. In the upper levels, larger fish and other marine animals swim among the green canopies as if moving through a submerged forest. One of the best-known inhabitants of kelp forests is the sea otter. These intelligent animals float on the water's surface, often lying on their backs among the algae. They wrap themselves in kelp stems to avoid being swept away by currents while they rest. Additionally, they play a crucial role in protecting these ecosystems by feeding on sea urchins. Sea urchins are animals that can destroy kelp forests if their population grows too large. Kelp forests also fulfill an important function for the climate and the ocean. They absorb large amounts of carbon dioxide through photosynthesis, helping to reduce greenhouse gases. Furthermore, they cushion the force of the waves and contribute to protecting coasts against erosion. However, these ecosystems also face threats. Changes in water temperature, pollution, and imbalances in the food chain can cause kelp forests to disappear. In some places, when sea otters decrease, urchins multiply rapidly and devour the algae, transforming the forest into a rocky and empty landscape. Still, in many regions of the cold ocean, these forests continue to grow. Sunlight pierces their green leaves, forming rays that recall light filtering through trees in a terrestrial forest. In the silence of the ocean, kelp forests remind us that beneath the sea there also exist ecosystems as complex and vibrant as those on land. Throughout this journey, we have explored many different worlds within the ocean, from the colorful coral reefs where tiny creatures like nudibranchs and butterfly fish showcase the diversity of life, to the gigantic kelp forests swaying beneath cold waters, and the polar regions where narwhals glide silently under the ice. Each of these creatures, whether tiny or gargantuan, is part of a complex web of life. A web that has existed for millions of years on our planet. However, the ocean is changing today faster than at any moment in modern history. As global temperatures rise, coral reefs worldwide experience mass bleaching events. Many kelp forests are declining due to changes in marine temperatures, and Arctic ice is melting at an unprecedented rate. These transformations do not just affect individual species, but the entire structure of marine ecosystems. Marine pollution has become one of the greatest challenges of our time. Each year, millions of tons of plastic reach the ocean and fragment into tiny particles called microplastics. These particles have been found in fish, seabirds, and even in creatures inhabiting the ocean depths. These changes are often linked to industrial waste and chemical substances that accumulate in the marine food chain. In some regions of the world, scientists have also observed unusual changes in marine organisms. Some result from pollutants and radioactive waste from past industrial activities or nuclear accidents. Although many species continue to adapt and survive, these signs remind us that the ocean is not an infinite system capable of absorbing all human impacts. Despite everything, the ocean possesses an extraordinary capacity for recovery. In well-protected areas, coral reefs are beginning to regenerate, fish populations are recovering, and kelp forests are growing back beneath the cold waters. When human beings understand the importance of the ocean and apply effective conservation measures, many marine ecosystems can be restored. In the vast expanse of our blue planet, the ocean remains home to strange and wondrous creatures that we are only beginning to discover. And the future of this underwater world, as well as that of our own species, will depend on the decisions we make to protect and preserve the ocean in the coming decades. If you liked this journey through the mysteries of the ocean, don't forget to support this channel. Like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next documentaries on our planet's wildlife. Because nature still holds countless secrets, and together we can continue discovering them. Far from the colourful coral reefs and the coastal seagrass meadows, the ocean opens into a vast deep blue expanse. Long waves slide gently over the sea surface, reflecting sunlight in thousands of brilliant glints. Suddenly, the water breaks with a fast and powerful movement. An elegant body jumps out of the sea, spins slightly in the air, and dives back into the blue waters. Soon after, more silhouettes appear, moving together with almost perfect coordination. These are dolphins, creatures famous for their intelligence and agility in the marine world. Dolphins have long aerodynamic bodies, perfectly adapted for life in the water. Their smooth skin reduces resistance when swimming, while their powerful tail fin allows them to reach speeds exceeding 30 kilometers per hour. Many adult species measure between 2 and 4 meters in length and weigh several hundred kilograms. Within their rounded forehead lies an organ known as the melon, which allows them to produce and direct sound waves. Echolocation is one of the most extraordinary tools of dolphins. By emitting high-frequency sounds and listening to the echo that bounces off nearby objects, they can determine the position, size, and even shape of their prey in the water. This system allows them to hunt with great precision, even in dark or murky waters. Dolphins usually hunt in groups using complex cooperative strategies. A group can surround a school of fish and concentrate it into a compact mass before taking turns to attack. On some occasions, they also create bubble circles underwater to confuse prey and make them easier to capture. This level of cooperation demonstrates a high degree of communication and social organization. The social life of dolphins is one of the most fascinating among marine animals. They live in groups called pods, which can be formed by a few individuals or several dozen. Within these groups, they communicate constantly using whistles, clicks, and other sounds. Each dolphin can even have a unique whistle that acts as a kind of personal name for other individuals to recognize them. The reproductive cycle of dolphins is relatively slow. Females usually gestate for approximately 1 year before giving birth to a single calf. At birth, the small dolphin can already swim alongside its mother, but continues to depend on her care for many months, even years. During that time, other group members also help protect the calf, showing a highly cooperative social structure. Within the marine ecosystem, dolphins are predators situated at high levels of the food chain. By feeding on fish and squid, they help maintain the ocean's biological balance. Their presence also typically indicates that the marine ecosystem is in good condition. However, today they face numerous threats. Marine pollution, ship noise, and the risk of being trapped in fishing nets represent constant dangers for many dolphin populations. In an ocean increasingly active due to human presence, protecting their habitat has become a fundamental task. In the middle of the vast ocean, a group of dolphins continues swimming alongside the waves, occasionally leaping out of the water as if playing with the wind and light. Occasionally leaping out of the water as if playing with the wind and light, they seem in that brief instant to embody not only the spirit of the sea, but also intelligence, freedom, and the vitality of the ocean. In the frozen waters of the Arctic Ocean, where enormous ice blocks cover the sea surface and winter light appears only for brief moments, one of the ocean's most mysterious creatures moves. Beneath the thick ice, elongated bodies slide silently like ghosts of the polar world. What makes them truly extraordinary is the long spiral tusk protruding from their head, like an ancient lance. This is the narwhal, often known as the unicorn of the sea. Narwhals measure between 4 and 5 meters in length and possess mottled grey skin. They belong to the group of toothed whales, close relatives of belugas, and spend most of their lives in the cold waters of the Arctic. Their most distinctive feature is the long tusk, which can reach up to 3 meters. In reality, it is a tooth that grows outward through the upper lip. In most cases, only males develop it fully. For centuries, this tusk aroused great curiosity. Recent research suggests that it functions as an extremely sensitive sensory organ. Its surface contains millions of nerve endings capable of detecting subtle changes in water temperature, salinity, and pressure. It is also believed that males use it for social interactions, touching their tusks together as a form of communication. Narwhals are extraordinary divers. They can descend to depths exceeding 1,000 meters in search of fish, squid, and crustaceans that inhabit the dark waters beneath the ice. Their bodies are adapted to withstand the pressure and lack of oxygen for long periods underwater. The life of narwhals is closely linked to the movement of sea ice. They migrate with the seasons in search of open areas between the ice blocks where they can feed. They generally live in small groups, although during migrations they can gather in large pods. After a gestation of more than 14 months, the female gives birth to a single calf. The small narwhal is born at nearly 2 meters in length and soon learns to swim alongside its mother in the icy waters. In the Arctic ecosystem, narwhals occupy an important place as intermediate predators. However, they can also become prey for orcas and occasionally polar bears when they emerge to breathe among the ice. Today, the narwhal faces new challenges due to climate change. The rapid melting of Arctic ice is transforming its environment at an unprecedented speed. Additionally, increased maritime traffic and resource exploration in the Arctic could affect these sensitive creatures. Beneath the polar ocean ice, a narwhal slowly emerges through a small hole in the surface. Its long tusk reflects the faint light of the Arctic sun. In that frozen world, it looks like a creature out of a legend, reminding us that the ocean still holds secrets we have only begun to discover. on the remote shores of the Southern Ocean and the North Pacific, where powerful waves strike cold and rocky beaches, an impressive spectacle takes place every year. On distant and wild beaches, hundreds of massive animals gather, covering the coastline with their dark grey bodies. From afar, they look like enormous living rocks resting under a cold sky. These are elephant seals, some of the largest marine mammals on the planet. Adult males can exceed 6 meters in length and weigh up to 4 tons. Their thick bodies are covered by tough skin and a deep layer of fat that protects them from cold oceanic waters. Males are easily recognizable by their large hanging noses, resembling a small elephant's trunk, which give them their name. When they reach maturity, this structure inflates and amplifies their powerful roars. Although they appear clumsy when resting on the beach, elephant seals are extraordinary divers. When they leave the coast, they can travel thousands of kilometers in search of food. Some individuals dive to over 1,500 meters deep and can remain underwater for more than an hour. In the dark, deep waters, they hunt fish, squid, and other marine animals. Their reproductive cycle is intense and competitive. During the breeding season, large males return to the coast first and fight to control territories. They lift the front part of their bodies and emit deep roars, and at times they clash violently to gain control of a group of females. When the females arrive on the coast, they give birth to a single pup after a gestation of nearly 1 year. The pups are born weighing close to 40 kilograms and soon learn to swim alongside their mother in the icy waters. In just a few weeks, they grow rapidly, nourished by their mother's fat-rich milk, before venturing into the ocean for the first time. Within the cold water marine ecosystem, elephant seals act as intermediate predators. They control populations of deep-sea fish and squid, although they can also become prey for larger predators like orcas or great white sharks. In the past, these giants were hunted almost to extinction for their body fat, used to produce oil. However, thanks to protection measures established in the 20th century, many populations have recovered remarkably. On a cold, windswept beach, an enormous elephant seal remains motionless while its chest rises slowly with each breath. Beyond the coast, the deep ocean waits. And when the breeding season ends, these giants return to the sea to spend most of their lives in the silent immensity of the deep.